Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Hope.
How's everybody today?
Fine.
Okay, good. Okay, so today we're going to be going over decimals, okay? That's our unit, decimals, all right? We always start off with reading our objective. Our objective for today is students will be able to read, write, and explore decimal place value, okay? And our Common Core standards are 5.NBT3. It's read, write, and compare decimals to the thousands. And that does say THS. Okay? The second Common Core standard is 5.NBT1, which is recognized that in a multi-digit number, meaning more than one number, a digit in one place represents 10 times, that's something else we have to make sure you remember, 10 times as much as it represents in the place to the right. These important factors when we go into today's lesson. 10 times and to the right. Okay, everybody got it?
Yes.
Okay, so our essential vocabulary. Remember, in any unit, we have to have vocabulary words. And you might have a test on Friday. All right, so a decimal is any number in our number base 10 number system. Okay? Right? Jessica, reread that for me. A decimal is?
Decimal is any number in our base 10 number system.
Okay, good job. All right, decimal point. Monet, read decimal point.
Decimal point is used to separate the ones place from the tenths place in decimals.
Very good. And this is an example of a decimal. It almost looks like a period, but in numbers or in math, we read that point as a decimal. Okay? Digit is any of the numbers 0 through 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay? All right. Monet, read tenths place.
Tenths place, the position of the first digit to the right of the decimal point.
Very good. Jessica, read hundredths place.
Hundredths place, the position of the second digit to the right of the decimal point.
Okay, good job, good job, good job. Okay, so now we're going to go over some important facts about decimals. Decimal facts. First of all, let me have y'all repeat decimals. Say decimals.
Decimals.
Good job. Okay. Decimals are fractions. You gotta remember that. Decimals are a part of a whole, which is less than 1. Decimals are used to measure small amounts. Like say if you are a scientist and you had to measure bugs, like ants and stink bugs. That's something you would use decimal for, to measure small amounts. Okay? In a decimal, the further right to the number, the smaller its value. We'll see that in a minute once we get to our charts. Okay? Last important fact that I wrote down. Okay, Monet, let's read the last decimal fact that I have on the chart.
Decimals are used in situations which require more precision than whole numbers can provide. A good example is money.
Very good. Decimals are used in situations which require more precision. Money. Think about your money. You don't want anybody coming up short with your money, do you? Like say, for instance, if your mom sent you to the grocery store with $20 and she tells you to get 5 items and you don't come back for correct change. She's going to probably be upset, correct? Okay. So that's a real important reason why we use decimals. Okay. So let's go into just reading a couple of our decimal numbers, okay? Just so you could get, yes.
For example of a decimal is like $14.50.
Yes, $14.50. Good job, Jessica. $14.50. Okay, we'll get a chance to do some of that on the board and when you work in your groups, okay? All right, so let's just take a look at this one example, okay? This is an example of one whole number, okay? So, in order to make it a decimal, you always put a point, which is a decimal point. That's one of our vocabulary words, decimal point. It's a point, okay? 1.0 is one whole, okay? And also written as a fraction, and remember we said decimals are fractions, it's part of a whole. It's 1 over 1. 1 whole, okay? Right, so let's look at 1/10, okay? It's another word of our vocabulary word, tenths place, okay? It's the position of the first digit to the right of the decimal point, okay? The first digit to the right of the decimal point is tenths place, okay? So this is 0.1. Or in the math world, we say, instead of saying decimal, or sometimes we say the word and. 0 and 1/10. And remember we also talked about that decimals are according to our base 10 number system. So, in this example, we know 1 over 10 is 1/10. Spelled 1/10, okay? Remember that one whole we had earlier? Now it's broken into 10 equal parts, okay? One shaded is 1/10 of that part, okay? All right, y'all did a good job, okay? So, right. Let's look at some of our charts, okay? This is a tenths chart, okay? So, it is broken into 10 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Part of a whole, right? So, we're going to actually do some demonstrations of what decimal looks like in bases of 10. Okay? So, let's remember, we remember this 1/10. We're going to start off as our example is 1/10. Okay? So, we're going to shade in 1/10. Okay? So, and remember, our definition says tenths place is the position of the first digit to the right of the decimal point. Okay? So, this is how we write this digit 1/10 or 1 over 10. Okay? Everybody got it?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's do another one. Okay? So, now we did 2/10 or decimal point 2, which is 2/10. Okay? All right, let's do another one. So, this is 3/10 coming in. This is going to be decimal point 3, and it also written as a fraction. It will be 3 over 10. Okay? All right, who wants to come up and volunteer and do one? Okay, come on, Jessica. See if you can do the next one. Okay. Okay, good job. So what is that going to be written as a decimal? Okay, can you tell us what it is? 4/10. Very good. Decimal point 4. Good job. Good job. Thank you, Jessica. Okay, let me do one more. Okay, so this is decimal point 5, which is 5 over 10. Okay, now let's look at this. Remember, this one box, the whole thing represents one whole. But we have broken it down into tenths. So far we've covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths. Notice something. This is what? Is this a whole part shaded or half of a part that's shaded?
1/2.
1/2. Very good. So 5/10 is 1/2 of this shade. Okay. So always, that's just something to remember. You know, 5/10 is 1/2 when you get further along in fractions and decimals. Okay. Okay. So since we've gotten that out of the way, let's look at reading some numbers. Okay, before we go into our next chart. Okay. Let's look at this little number. Okay. I'm going to give you some examples. Okay. So, how to read a decimal, and we practiced some over here, shading our little chart. So now we're going to practice reading some decimals, okay? So, this is considered 1, which is in the ones place, and I'll show you the chart in a second. 1 and 1/10, or it'll be 1 decimal point 110. Okay? Remember, the position of the first digit to the right of the decimal. Okay. So the next number is, you read this, 10 and 100ths. Okay? Remember, it says the second position of the second digit, which is, in this case, this one, to the right is the hundredths place, okay? So, or you can read this number, 10 decimal point 100ths, okay? Okay, let's look at a bigger number. Okay, so remember, and we know from earlier grades that anything that's before the decimal is considered a whole number, okay? So we know 67 and 148 thousandths, okay? That's how you read that number, okay? Let's look at one more number. 5,642 and 1400ths, okay? Remember, the decimal, you can say decimal point or you can say and, okay? Okay. So let's look at our hundredths chart, okay? We did tenths, and it's almost the same exact way, other than now we have one whole, which is the entire box, but we have it broken down into hundredths. So each one of these are 10 times 10, and we know 10 times 10 is 100, okay? So remember, we said decimals is part of a whole and is less than 1, okay? So I'm going to do 100, okay? Color in 100, and it's simply 1 over 100, okay? Okay, so the next number is, you read this, 10 and 100ths, okay? Remember, it says the second position of the second digit, which is, in this case, this one, to the right is the hundredths place, okay? So, or you can read this number, 10 decimal point 100ths, okay? Okay, let's look at a bigger number. Okay, so remember, and we know from earlier grades that anything that's before the decimal is considered a whole number, okay? So we know 67 and 148 thousandths, okay? That's how you read that number. Look at one more number. 5,642 and 1400ths, okay? Remember, the decimal, you can say decimal point or you can say and, okay? Okay. So let's look at our hundredths chart, okay? We did tenths, and it's almost the same exact way, other than now we have one whole, which is the entire box, but we have it broken down into hundredths. So each one of these are 10 times 10, and we know 10 times 10 is 100, okay? So remember, we said decimals is part of a whole and is less than 1, okay? So I'm going to do, okay, so now we get to our hundredths, okay? And the way we do this is we shade in one little box of the entire whole, which is 1 over 100, which is decimal point 0.01. You read this as 100. Everybody say 100.
100.
Okay, good job. So let's do 200s. Okay, it's 2 over 100. And you write this decimal point 0.2. Okay? Everybody got that? Okay. So let's get Monet. Come and try one. Let's do 300s. Okay, very good. Now write it as a fraction.
3 over 100.
Good job. And as a decimal. Excellent. Good job. Good job. Okay. Good job. Okay. Everybody has that?
Yes.
Okay. One more chart we're going to use is our decimal place value. Okay? Everybody has its place. Okay? And this is called a decimal place value chart. Okay? So, this is how we read this. The decimal point is in the middle. Okay? The first position to the right of the decimal, as we said,
10th place.
is the 10th place, okay? Second, hundredths. Third, thousandths, okay? And we know anything to the left of the decimal are whole numbers. You learned this back in first and second grade, okay? Our ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands place, okay? And I have these numbers under the bottom because it tells us what we're going to multiply to get that digit or that number. For example, okay, we take these down, okay? If we put the ones in the ones column, we know that number is simply 1, correct? Okay? And we actually multiply 1 times 1. And 1 times 1 gives us 1, okay? So, let's put a digit in the 10th place, okay? And all this is telling us is that we multiply 1 times 1/10, okay? And we'll get 1/10, okay? So let's look at some more digits. Let me get y'all to come and do some digits. Let's move some of these numbers around, okay? Let's add a 0. Let's manipulate some of these numbers and move some of these numbers around, okay? So now you read this as 10 and 1/10, or 10 decimal point 1/10, okay? We know that's the whole number 10, right? Look at some more numbers. Okay, let's move this around. So, this number reads 100, and remember I said when you see the decimal point, you can say the word and, or you can say decimal point. You can also say the word and, okay? So, it's 100 and 1/10, or 100 decimal point 1/10, okay? Let's move this numbers around. Okay. Now, you read this number as 10 and 1,000 because we moved that digit, okay? Shit. Okay. So, on our decimal place value chart, I have put in a number. When we read this number, 10 and 100. Okay? So, I'm going to have Jessica and Monet. First, I'll start with Monet. Okay, come on, you can create your own number. Okay? Use these two numbers. Put them right over top of mine, wherever you want to put them. Okay? Okay? Alright, so let's read that number that Monet created. Okay? So, you know, this is in the 5th place, this is in the 10th place. So, we read that 5 and 3/10. Good job. Okay, Jessica, you want to do one? just give you 2 digits. Okay? Okay. Okay, read your number, Jessica. Can you read your number?
1 and 14.
Good job. Okay, good job. Okay. So, you see, we can manipulate these numbers any which way we would like, okay? So, let's do an easy number. Wow. It's not an easy number, but let's move it around this way. Okay, let's read this number, okay? I'm going to read the number, and I'm going to give you some examples to read. All right, so this is 4,510 and 300. Okay? Let's move this around. Let's do... Okay? Now, look at Jessica. Can you read that number? Okay, we know this is
4,501.
Good job, good job, good job. Okay, let's do a different number. Let's do... Okay, let's get Monet. Read that number, Monet. We know this is
503 tenths.
Good job. Okay, you see how easy it is? Okay, so what you're going to do is give you some paper that looks like this, and you're going to work together to create some numbers, decimal numbers, okay?